one stone. Okay, let's go back to this and then go back to this. Okay. So I hope this is all clear sa inyo, I hope na klaro ni. We'll have some explanations with this PowerPoint para nobody will be left behind when it comes sa atong exam this coming Thursday. So, the second part of the philosophical na chapter would be the Eastern philosophical perspectives. We have Confucianism, Daoism, and Buddhism. Now, with these three, tulo lang sa, because the reason why I want to giapil ang uban nga Eastern philosophical perspectives is that it's either it's too complicated or it just branched out of these three siguro, no, so inana, no, and also to give justice to other philosophical perspectives nga wala kay nato na studyhan, lisod kayo mag-discuss og lesson when it comes nga wala nato siya na himay og ayo, right? So at least we'll have these three lang. So let's start off with Confucianism. No, it started off in China. Confucianism is above all an ethic governing human relationships, of which the most important are the 5 cardinal relationships: ruler-minister, father and son, husband and wife, brothers and friends, brothers or siblings, and then friends. So the idea with Confucianism class is that it obeys a structure of hierarchy. What is a structure of hierarchy? It's a model wherein somebody is at the bottom, somebody is at the top, somebody is a leader, somebody is a follower. In many substructures of society, we can see this hierarchy. No, for example, in a household, na ay mo lead sa balay, na ay mo lead sa family, no. Most commonly would be the father and some na ay mother, no, and then mo follow ang anak, and so that's a hierarchy right there. Even between siblings na ay hierarchy. For example, if na kay magulang, and so they're supposed to be obeyed, no, in place of the parents. Even in friends, between friends na ay gitawag nga hierarchical nga structure. There are between a group of friends na ay somebody who will lead, somebody is dominant, and somebody who is a submissive one. No, it doesn't mean nga you're ma-demean ang imuhang personhood when you're a follower. It's just that there's always a hierarchy for everything. Even sa klase nato, there's a hierarchy. No, who's that? No. Even sa atong class, there's a hierarchy. For example, a hierarchy between competencies, right? For example, would be after the prelim exam, you would be comparing your grades, for example, for a specific subject. No, you will compare your grades, and so maka-create a hierarchy out of that one, wherein ang nasa taas would be, no, a hierarchy would be most likely resembling a triangle. And so what happens is that ang top one would be nasa taas and those bottom people nasa ubos. So that's a hierarchy. So one thing that you will know about Confucianism is it regards the hierarchy as an absolute nga structure in any situation. And now, according sa Confucianism is that isa sa pinaka-important nga part sa atong life as in our selfhood would be the relationship we have with other people. So 5 ka cardinal relationship yung ginastorya diri. You have the ruler and the follower. And so in a hierarchy, if you're the ruler, then you play the role as a ruler. And if in a hierarchy you're placed as a follower, then you follow, no? And then we have the father and the son. And so there's the father and there's the son. There's a relationship between the two wherein somebody must be obeyed, somebody must be respected, no, and in that case that's the father. And so as a father, for example, in that relationship, the father must also place himself in a way nga di siya ma-disrespect sa iyahang children, and children must place themselves in a way nga they will always pay respect sa ilahang father, especially in social nga settings, no, between husband and wife. course, we have that. The husband should love the wife, and the wife should pay respect sa iyahang husband, no? Not that dili i-respect ang wife, but rather um, in those sense, no, it's actually biblical, no. Husband should love and treat your wife in a way that's kind and loving, and that's the way to have that relationship. And then you have the wife wherein you must pay respect sa imong husband, and it's a vice versa nga relationship wherein that makes things work, no. So inana, imagine a husband and a wife, and ang wife would play sa role sa tanan, and the husband would not play a role sa sulod sa panimalay. What happens is that basically there's no balance and there's no harmony within that structure. If ang husband ra po'y magbuot sa tanan, or if ang husband ra tanan siya ay mo-play sa tanan role within the family structure, ang mahitabo pod would be wala gyapon balance and walay harmony in that sense between brothers, no, and then between friends. So there is a sense nga relationships are a big part of the Confucianism perspective, and it's actually true, and it's actually right in many sense, no, that you have to play your role and you have to play your part within the structure that where you are in, so that ang mahitabo is there is a balance and everything works together for good. Mo pud na siya, everything works together for good. For example, sa Confucianism is that if between nining pinaka first kining ruler and minister, example lang, so imong role sa society, for example, is a student, no, and what does a student do in the hierarchy of structures? You would say a person only becomes a student if he studies, right? And so if you enrolled in a certain class and you did not study and you did not play your part in being a student, then you're not a student at all. Gets na to? It's like that. For example, sa father and son, you could be the father of a child, but lagi if dili ka mubarog as a father, then wala kay right to be called as a father figure. You have no right to be called as one when you're not playing the role of a father, no? Sa husband and wife, the same gyapon. So brothers, no, and even between friends. For example, kanagod between friends, and you're actually bullying another person, and you cannot even call yourself a friend of that person if ginabully nimo siya. First off, you're not playing the role, you're not playing the part, no. In many cases of philosophy and psychology, they say that we are just actors in a large theater called life, and then you have to play your part so that everything goes well, everything stays in place. So inana sa Confucianism, and it's actually true. And isa sa pinakaduol nga concept sa Confucianism in terms of society would be the Islamic nga kultura, no. Kay ang Islam in social context kuan pud siya deeply hierarchical, no. Kuan gyapon siya sa hierarchy, depend siya sa hierarchy, and gina-value niya ang hierarchy as such that if there should be a place for tradition, there should be a place for customs, and so on and so forth, right? And then we have another point. Tradition is important in the philosophy of Confucius. Mo po na siya sa philosophy ni Confucius, which is the father of Confucianism, is that tradition is very important. Why? Because it plays a cohesive role in our society. What do we mean by a cohesive role? Tradition plays a part nga it glues together one concept or one structure or one individual towards another. It glues those things together within the social context so that ang mahitabo is that things would not break apart. medyo complex ra atong hinahinayon ha. Ang tradition daw ga-act siya as papilit, glue, or whatever imong papilit dira, no? O rugby, no? Ga-act siya as an agent of cohesion or cohesiveness for society. If we abandon tradition, most likely we will abandon values, and that will become the end of our society. Example ani, tradition sa balay, for example, would be, one of the tradition would be po and opo, no? Or in our cases sa Bisaya, magmama and papa ka, no? What if wala na ni mga tradition? Dili ka magmama sa imong mama, dili ka magpapa. You will not address your father as papa. You will not pay them respect. For example lang, no? What happens is that slowly kanang structure nga inyuhang nga nasa inyo, which is a family, the basic unit, would slowly fall apart. Nga naman, because walay cohesive force nga ga stick together sa family. Sir, na may love. Well, even with love, without tradition, it's still not enough. No, sir, gahinigugmaay man mi sa family. Sige, tagaanta mo example. What if gihigugma gyud nimo ang tao? Sige, gihigugma nimo siya sa imong tibuok kasing-kasing. And then wala mo gapakasal. So that, and you could give the argument, well, committed man ko. Sure, you're committed. But tradition is important, nga naman, because it glues those two people together. No? You can't just go on sa kinabuhi nga, di mi magpakasal kay committed naman mi. So that's actually oxymoron in a term. Why? Because you're actually opposing your own thoughts on it, right? So that huy asa man mo gikan kamo mga tawhana nga late man mo. Rats bitaw. Hello, welcome sa klase. Unta kuan.
Morning, sir.
Good morning sa inyo, no? Okay na, nakasulod na ba tanan? Okay na tanan? Sige. Isa to, no? Anyway, so that tradition is very important, no? Ito siya ko example, and it's true to the core that if we live our traditions, most likely i-live nimo pod ang values. Babae good, for example, babaeng Muslim maranaw. If you live the tradition of the kumbong, no, you're not just leaving the kumbong behind, but also you're leaving behind the symbolic value of the thing, no. Next is relationship dominance. No? Relationship dominance ascribe primacy to reciprocity, interdependence, and interrelatedness among individuals, not to the individuals themselves. And so, according sa Confucianism, naatay gitawag nga interdependence and interrelatedness. And this connection of interrelatedness and interdependence between people, kasamok aning mga late, no, between people would most likely, no, lead to a better nga society. So that, no, Confucianism uses the term relational identity, no. So you're identified by your relationship with others, no, and that's the good thing with it, no. Napod tay gitawag nga it's closely related to collective identity, to the second to the last point, wherein your identity is defined by your membership within a certain group of people. So inana. So kung baptist ka dayon nakitaan ka nga gainom sa bar, hubog kay ka, nignunin ka, hala di ba baptist na siya? Nganong gainom na siya, no? And if you confess that you're a Seventh-day Adventist and then ikaw ang gagbaboy, so there's another question. Nganom na siya, no? Ikaw na siya baboy. SDA mo na siya. No, so we have all those examples sa atong society, no? And even if dili religious na gyapon gitawag nga familial nga identity, no? For example, magbinastos ka sa social nga setting. And one of the things that people would say would be kakinsa man ang anak, no? Kakinsa man ang anak, nagaskwela bataan na, hubog mo kay na, buntag pa sayo, no? So we have those concepts wherein The things that you do with yourself is actually has actually a ripple out that turns outwards, no, it affects other people, it affects other institutions. And so dili ra ikaw ang musalo sa unsay ginabuhat nimo, but rather other people will be affected. And even if you say nga, I don't care about my family, well, actually you do. The thought that you're saying that you don't care actually says a lot, like you do really care. You're just actually angry, or you're just actually mutanta suko kanila unsa ba, no. But the thing is, you cannot divorce yourself from your social nga setting. So inana, and so whatever you do with yourself, do not forget that other people will be affected as well. Labi na ka ng term nga kakinsa ng anak, sakit kay na oy, no. No. In the extreme, the individual is not regarded as a separate being, but as a member of a larger whole. And so, with that, we will, tawagan we will see the person as, butanta, as a unit, or part of as a unit that is part of a greater nga system. Without you, something would break down, no. It's like saying a good, if na isa ka amahan, for example, and one day that father would say, I'm tired of all of this, di na ko ganahan mahimong papa, I will get all my savings and leave this family, for example. Biyaan niya, and poof, no, mawala siya out of thin air. So the idea is, dili lang siya ang affected, but rather ang naisa ka asawa nga mawad-an og bana, napoy anak nga mawad-an og papa. So gitawag na siya nga relational identity. And so everything that you do with your life has a consequence to other people. And so muna sang ang concept ni Confucius is that the self must be subdued. Unsay subdued? It must be restricted. Ngano man, because dili pwede nga ikaw lang tanan, because you're not the center of the universe. And the thing is, not everything will play out for your own good. Everything will play out for the good of the whole, right? And so the self must be subdued, no. The self must be kept in a way nga you must be free enough para makalihok, but you must not be free enough nga mo turn away ka sa imong role, right? And so condition na siya, no. And that you will not respond to your own needs and aspiration, but of the social requirement. Diri lang yun ang bugat, because na social requirements and obligation. Medyo negative ta diri nga part, but it's true. It's positive to nga part wherein the self must be subdued, because nothing is absolute. Even freedom is not absolute, no. And so there's incongruence between inner private self and outer public self. Nagid na siya. Then it's actually a friction between the two, no. So if you want to be if you want to be a nurse someday, tawag na registered nurse, you'd rather want to be what? You'd rather want to play the role that you are in karon. And the role that you're in karon would be a student. And so if you're a student, you play the role as a student so that you can bear the responsibility. Because sa Confucianism class, i-bear nimo imong pangalan. You just can't say nga inani ko. You just can't say to the public, uy, nurse ko, without proving it, right? You must prove it. You must have proof. You must bear the responsibility of what you say that you are, because people will not believe you according to what you say. They will believe you according to how you act. Di ba? Balikan ta to, SDA, pinaka basic nga premise. Basic lang gyud da. Isa gina sa pinaka, di man gyud top how, but isa sa pinaka Di siya fundamental, no? Wherein di ka mo kaog baboy, for example, kana. And then you ate one. And the idea here is, then what are you? If dili nimo mabarugan ang imuhang own identity, because ang identity na to, class, na siya payment, and the payment is responsibility. If gusto ka mahimong papa, then you can be a father. You can call yourself a father, but na siya responsibility. Unsay responsibility niya? Magpaka papa. If you want to be a mother, then you can be a mother, but na ay responsibility. Magpaka inahan. And so, in all of this, natay gitawag nga relational self. Dili ka pwede nga musulti nga, this is me without doing the responsibility. Right? And in doing so, you also become ambassadors to your own collective nga identity. You become an ambassador for your religion, you become an ambassador for your family, you become an ambassador for your school, for your clan, and so on and so forth. For your friends, diba? So inana. I hope this is clear, no? Next is Taoism, also pronounced as Daoism, no? Taoists disdain the Confucian affinity to social convention. This would be the opposite of Confucianism in terms of its view in society, because Taoists disdain the social convention, the hierarchical nga organization. Because according sa Taoists, here's the thing. According sa Taoists, is that we must live in accordance with the Tao. Unsa ning Tao? The Tao is an all-encompassing, nameless, and indescribable nga concept. Ang pinakaduol niya nga explanation would be a force or an energy, no? Muning gikuan sa concept sa Star Wars. Yes, no? Star Wars is actually Taoist in nature, no? Iyang mga concept dito, no? So the force or energy, right? And so the energy that butanta flows in me is the same energy that flows in any individual, and not only any individual, it also flows in other creatures, in animals. It also flows in the cosmos, in the planets, in the galaxy, no? Medyo layo na kaya itong nasturyahan, but that's the thing with the Tao. It's that it is everything. It encompasses everything. And so, therefore, if the energy that flows in me is also the same energy that flows in you, then basically, wala tay hierarchy kitang duwa or kita nga group of people, but rather, we are a reflection of each other. And so, we must live a life that is free of desire for anything at all. Nga naman, because we are the same, no? We are the same. Ikaw ug ako parihara. The same strength that I have in me is also nasa imo, and the same nga flaw nga nasa ko, weaknesses napod sa imuha. And so if sawayon ti ka sa imuhang flaw, then the thing is akong ginasaway ako ang kaugalingon. Why? Because you are just like me. And so according sa Taoism, the way to attain selfhood would be what? Would be knowing yourself and knowing others. No, first is you would know yourself, you would try to understand yourself, and knowing others, no, and then you will know the cosmos, or the entirety of the entirety of the whole universe, no? In sum, Taoism's conception of selfhood entails conscious self-transformation, leading to the embodiment of sageliness within and kingliness without. Because if you are a person who truly understands yourself, you actually become a sage. You become a wise person, and a wise person is always a king in his own right. What is a king? A person who rules. Rules what? Rules his own kingdom, and that kingdom is the self. no, nagito sa Proverbs, a person who does not know how to control his own emotions actually is like a city without walls. Sa karaan nga mga sa ancient times class, a city without walls is a city without borders, and so it's easily infiltrated by the enemy and it's easily defeated. And so if a person daw does not have control over his own self, he is a person who is easily defeated. He is a person who is weak because he cannot even control his own self. And so with selfhood in Taoism, you must be a sage within and you must be a king without, no. Happy eating sa gakaon, madunggan ako ang gakaon, no. The mind becomes like a mirror, free from obstinacies and prejudices. So inana. Nai point dere nga gi-ask ni, I forget kinsa itong ga-ask ani. No, I forgot kinsa tong kwan. Oo, okay ra na wala yung signal. No, that's also the reason nga no ato aning gi-record so that at least ma-share nato sa uban, no. Na to, nawa na ko. So kani we have this symbol, the yin and the yang, no. It's actually very common, but one thing that we have to learn pod sa yin and yang process kay sa Taoism lagi na gitawag nga the sense of balance and harmony with others. We should also note that the yin and the yang represents the masculine, which is the white part, and the feminine, which is the black part. The masculine symbolizes what? Reason, no? It symbolizes the structured, the explored, the traditional, no? So that's the safe, the stable nga side, no? The white, and the yang, which is symbolized by the feminine, is represented by chaos, no? Chaos. So naigitawag nga chaos and order. Sir, nganong chaos man ang babae? Because they are the creators, the progenitors of new life and therefore new adventure. Gets na to? When God created the world, ang nahitabo was He created Adam, right? And then everything was good, meaning everything was perfect. And we would love perfection, right? If ikaw si Adam and everything is perfect, no, wala na, you would have nothing to wish for because perfect na tanan. But no, it was too perfect nga na bored si Adam or na lonely siya, no. It was not meant for man to be alone, matud pa sa Ginoo. And so what happened was that it's too perfect, it's too steady, and it's too balanced. Rather, it's too good, no. It's too structured nga walay entity sa chaos. And so gi-introduce ang feminine, which is embodied by Eve. And so pag abot sa babae, didto na tanan, no. I'm not saying nga sala sa babae, but all I'm saying is that the character of the woman introduced the idea of what? The idea of adventure and the idea of the unknown. And so we all know the whole story, right? They ate the fruit and kicked out the garden and so on and so forth. But that's exploration, no? In theological terms, that might be a sin. Yes, it's true. But in psychological explanation, that's also part of the process of the chaos to be introduced in society. And lastly, Buddhism. To speak of the self in Buddhism is a contradiction in itself. Kaya ang goal sa Buddhism class is you must have no self or no soul, no. Gitawag na siya anate, no soul. And so if ang tao naka-attain siya statehood nga wala na siya self, then ang tawag siya is anataman, no. Anataman, which is somebody who has no self. And if you have no self, then you have broken the suffering of life. Di ato ani explain karon. Okay, according mo sa Buddhism, there are 4 truths nga dumala sa atong kinabuhi. First truth is that there's suffering. Second truth, na cause ang suffering, greed, ignorance, hatred. And then the third truth would be na pwede mahunong ang suffering. The fourth truth is that here's the path to the cessation of suffering. So, first truth, na suffering, there always be pain. Nagyoy kasakit, nagyoy kapobrihon, nagyoy pag-antos sa kinabuhi. And that's the first truth. And it's actually true in many sense sa Buddhism. Even with our lives, there's always the presence of suffering. Di ginato na mawala. Ga-suffer gay mo ron sa online class, di ba? Ga-suffer mo as what you have said sa inyong mga memes. Nag-suffer mo sa to 99% submission, 1% learning. Unsa pa na inyong mga storya dira, no? I've seen the memes, no? Katawanan ra siya for my part because we all have our shares of suffering. Labi na sa pag-eskwela, no? And to wish for it nga mawala, katawanan kay siya, no? It's like wishing dili yung talusod mo eskwela. Dodong inday, no? The idea here is walay kurso nga sayon. And if nangita kag kurso nga sayon, then wala di ka mahuman og pagpangita. Walay course nga sayon. And so there will always be suffering. No, there will always be suffering. Nagi kagutom, na ay mamatay, na ay makulang og pagkaon, and so on and so forth, right? Makulang tag tuition, ma-short sa budget, ma-short sa finances, unsa pa, bulagan jud kag uyab or single jud ka hantod, daghan kay suffering, no? So that's the first truth. The second truth is that there's a cause for this suffering. First is that na greed, your desire and wantonness for other things or for stuff or for everything around you, no, makes the suffering butanta appear sa imong kinabuhi, and not only sa imong kinabuhi but also in the life of other people, right? No, the desire that you possess. For example, you desire to be a registered nurse, a RMT in the near future. What would happen is that you have this desire, right? And so, unsay buhaton sa imong parents, they would work their back off until makabayad sila sa tuition para lang yun mahimong medtech ilang anak. Sayon magpaskwela og anak, dili sayon. But then again, the desire is there, and so pain must also be there. And so unsay naa sa desire, ga-follow saya is pain. Painful siya para sa imong parents, but it's a pain, it's a type of pain nga ganahan nila dalon because you desire something and they desire it for you, put in some sense. And so our desire causes pain to us and it causes pain to others, because if you desire something, it causes pain good, not unless it is met. Mo po na siya in human desire, right? For example, you desire somebody, ganahan jud ka ning tawhana, ganahan jud kay kanya kay gwapo jud kay siya sa imong pananaw, or gwapa jud kay siya sa imong pananaw. And so there's a desire, right? And if di nimo makuha imong desire, unsay mo follow? The emotion of frustration. And so with frustration follows what? Pain. You will feel pain because the thing is there's the idea nga di nimo siya makuha. It cannot be yours. Not everything that you want could be yours. And so what would happen is desire, frustration, and then suffering. You will just suffer in silence. No? So we have desire and ignorance, no? The ignorance that you bear if you're not knowledgeable of the things that are around you causes you suffering. Pinakataphaw nga example. If you are ignorant nga may exam data karon nga week, and then iabot ang exam paper, and then you're ignorant of the idea nga naa day exam, it causes you suffering kay wala ka nakatuon. If you're ignorant of some things, it makes you what? It makes you suffer for a certain degree, diba? And ignorance is not bliss. No, do not be fooled by that. Always have a what? Always have this idea that just because you're ignorant of something doesn't excuse you from it. So inana, 'di ba? So ignorance is not bliss. No. That's the thing. And if you're ignorant of some things, what would happen is dako kayong chance nga ikaw mismo as a person, you could hurt another person as well. Why? Because you're ignorant of their own suffering, you're ignorant of their own insecurities. For example, imuhang friend is insecure siya siyang ilong, and then para sa imo it's just a joke. Unsa man imong ilong, oy murag so and so, right? What would happen is that they would get hurt. They would take it personally. Bahalag para sa imo joke ra. Because you are ignorant of their own state of mind, right? And we have hatred, no? The thing about hatred, class, is the more you hate that person or that object, the more kagapasakit sa imuhang kaugalingon. Sir, OA ra kay dunggon. Yes, bahala mo OA-han mo maminaw, but that's actually the truth. Right? The more you hate another person, hate is a double-edged sword. No? The more nimo ginaduslak na sa lain tao, the more nagkakalalom ang samad sa imong own heart. No? So that's the idea with hatred. And the more kagapasakit, because you would try to get even, you would try your best nga ma-express nimo ng hate mo po ng idea sa hate, because it's so explosive and it's actually all-consuming, di ba? If masuko ka, it's very consuming. Murag most of your thoughts would run through scenarios unsaon nimo siya pag-away, unsaon nimo siya pag-confront, unsaon nimo ni pagbalos, and so on and so forth. So that's hatred for you. And the more you hate, the more you feel the hate, the more ka samad-samad sa imong kaugalingon. The more ka mo let go of the hate, the more pud nimo ginapa let ang peace of mind sa imong self, no? And then the truth to the cessation of suffering. All of this suffering could be stopped, no? And there's a path to stopping this suffering, and that's what you call the enlightenment. Being enlightened with yourself, having no self na dayon, balikan na to tong no self anate, no? Ang mahitabo na dayon is that you would become mura siya og sa Taoism, no? The self would become a mirror, no? And so in the idea of Buddhism, the self is nothing but an illusion na dayon. And so you would have no desire. And so you would be more knowledgeable with yourself, especially with yourself. And then with that, you would let go of your hate, and you would what? Lisod oy. If you come to think of it, lisod i-take ang idea sa Buddhism. First palandra, desire. Wala na. Pildi na tang tanan, di ba? In many cases, daghan sa inyo gareklamo sa inyong cellphone. Gubaon na kayo akong Huawei P30. Dapat na siya ilisan og iPhone, and so on and so forth, right? So you have those things, no? Kana palang desire daan, actually mo nang pinakalisod tang tangon sa tao, because we all have desires. And so muna siya nakalisod sa Buddhism, ang letting go of our desire, ignorance, especially our hate. So inana. So hopefully I have discussed everything. Kubaanin nila, uy.